just thinking about the fallout of the debate that is still absolutely going on. Obviously, there's the Trump immunity case. We broke with the news yesterday. I'll talk about that briefly as well. But I'm going to dive a little deeper today, and I'm going to ask you to follow along. And by the way, you can call into the relieffactor.com studio at 1 800 655 6453. Again, that number is 1 800 655 6453, 1 800 655 Mike, or go to MikeOnline.com. And also, you can text the word Trump to the number 800 655 6453 to give us a list of Trump's accomplishments. What do you like about what Trump accomplished? What do you want to see him accomplish? Lord willing, he wins in November. And again, it is absolute fallout from the left. Still wanting to get rid of Joe Biden. As a matter of fact, I do believe that the 25th Amendment should be invoked. I know a lot of conservatives are absolutely against that. But guys, I want you to understand it. Also, you know what? I'm going to implore you listeners out there. Maybe you're straddling the fence. Maybe you're not sure. Maybe you hate Trump's guts. But you understand that we can't have an administrative state. Obviously, Joe Biden isn't running the country. I mean, the guy checks out at 4 p.m., 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. He's pretty much a lifeless creature, but he's available, if you will. But after that, the guy is gone. This isn't a guy that should be in the most powerful position in the entire world. So I'm curious for any of you listeners that may be straddling the fence. Maybe you're an independent. Maybe you're one of those quote unquote undecided voters. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know how the debate perhaps has shaped your viewpoint going forward. Have you decided to change your vote as a result? Have you decided to sit it out? I'm absolutely curious. 1 800 655 Mike, 1 800 655 6453, or go to MikeOnline.com. Again, my name is Carl Jackson. Sitting in for the great Mike Gallagher. You can find me on all things social media at The Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to my podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find that. So the media is up at arms over the Trump immunity case. And basically, I mean, you heard that when we had Arthur Aidala on, and basically he just gave us a quick summary yesterday, and where a president has immunity for official business, and then the presumption of immunity, right, as well, or a presumption of immunity. But when it comes to unofficial business, then that's a different story. I mean, a president isn't above the law, just like no one else is. But obviously, when you're operating under the presidency, you have a level of immunity. I heard Hugh Hewitt talking about it briefly on my way in this morning, where with a couple of attorneys, and they were going back and forth. And one of or Hugh Hewitt, I believe, mentioned, hey, listen, you had former President Barack Obama that literally bombed an American citizen that was in the Middle East, that was conspiring with one of the terrorist networks. I believe it was ISIS or Al Qaeda at the time. That gentleman, from what I recall, was right here from right here in Florida. He was from Tampa, if I'm not mistaken. If I recall correctly, he was actually a professor at one of our universities, if I'm not mistaken. And honestly, I have no ill will for Barack Obama doing that. When you're facilitating terrorism against the United States, conspiring against the United States, I don't care if you're an American citizen, you go overseas in order to make sure that bombs are dropped on us. Adios, sayonara, see you, sucker. All right? Have no problem with it whatsoever. But the left is absolutely reeling. And it's shocking to me. I shouldn't say that. Nothing should shock us anymore, right? But the left is all upset and they're up at arms. You had Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Oh, does this mean that former President Trump will use SEAL Team 6 to take out his political opponent? Well, I got to tell you, Sonia Sotomayor, right now his political opponent is a figurehead of the administrative state. That would be Joe Biden. That would be the guy that we call president. And Trump isn't in office, so he's not going to be using SEAL Team 6. And it's disgusting to me that a Supreme Court justice would use that type of hyperbolic, inflammatory language in order to hype people up. This is a woman, and Sonia Sotomayor, in my opinion, that should be nowhere near the Supreme Court. Absolutely insane. They just decided a case that has been understood for over 200 years when it comes to presidential immunity. Nothing more, nothing less. And then you have the figurehead of the administrative state, and I'm going to get into that. Because what we're dealing with this November, if indeed the nominee is Joe Biden, if he doesn't resign, if there isn't enough pressure put on him, and the administrative state runs using his face, we need to talk about that, because right now this is an administrative state. We do not. I almost can't believe I'm saying this, Eric. We don't have a president. We don't have a president. We're being governed by God knows whom. Obviously, I've been saying, quite frankly, I see a lot of people are saying it now, that Joe Biden is this Edith Wilson type figure. Guys, I've been saying this for years. And I just thought, all right, maybe I'm the one that's wrong. Now everyone is on the bandwagon. But I'm not even convinced as much, honestly, even since in the last couple of days, and even overnight, as I've thought about this more. We all saw her on the stage the day after. I believe it was in a rally in one of the Carolinas. We saw her on the stage with her husband. Good job, Joe. You answered every question. I mean, talking to him like he was going to get a bowl of ice cream, if he did well in the rally. But I sat there thinking, she's not that. I don't want to say. I know she has a doctorate. We can argue about that. I don't think she's necessarily an intellectual giant. Let me put it that way. I don't think that she's necessarily making all the decisions or major decisions per se. I do believe there's an administrative state, but certainly she's playing a larger role in this administration than we know. But I'd like to know who's running the country. And I started thinking about this even when it came to debating former President Donald Trump having another debate with Joe Biden. I think if he does debate, obviously it should be on his terms, right? Because he's got the upper hand. There's polls out that are saying now, he's looking good in New Hampshire, of all places. I mean, just absolutely insane. Now, I don't know if those polls will remain. We'll get into some of those. I don't know if they'll remain, but I got to tell you, he's got the upper hand. But I would almost, if I were him, I'd be asking who's running the country. Who should I really be debating? Now, all of the left's policies are virtually the same, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Barack Obama. It doesn't matter if it's Gavin Newsom. It doesn't matter if it's whomever, Kamala Harris, Gretchen Whitmer. These are lefties, right? These aren't your typical Democrats. These aren't liberals per se. These are people that are fundamentally transforming America. I spoke to you yesterday about how Obama is kind of still in control. Actually, not kind of. He is in control of the DNC, right? Ultimately, he makes the decisions. He came out with some post on X after everybody found out, which honestly is a complete and utter scam. Everybody is somehow has figured out that Joe Biden has had dementia after the common sense people like you and I have known it for years. So, and Barack Obama came out and, he had a bad night. And I'm paraphrasing. But they know he didn't have a bad night. They know that the guy has dementia. They know that they're using the guy. Jill Biden knows it. Everybody knows. I made a post in jest on social media before the debate, and I was joking. But now I'm wondering if I was right. 16 people preparing Joe Biden for the debate. And I asked the question on X, are those 16 people the ones that are really running the country? And I got to tell you, we're going to take a break here. But when we get back, I want to dive into the administrative state. And also, I'm going to take a column that Victor Davis Hanson wrote, piece by piece. I want to break this down to you. Piece by piece. We have fallen so far in 3.5 years, it is almost impossible to comprehend. We're going to try to do that. If we don't win in November, I'm not sure if we've reached the point of no return in America. I say that sadly, not to be hyperbolic. We got to talk about it. We'll be back. I couldn't help but to think, oh, my Lord, perhaps for the first time in American history, we do not have a president that is running this country. And I don't think the left can put that back in the bottle, but that's got to be devastating. That's got to be devastating to them because they their moral values, their worth, sadly, many on the left, comes from the deep state, the big government. It's really fascinating to think about. I want to play a clip for you, a video to reiterate or to affirm or confirm something that I said in the last hour, that basically this case against Trump, this January 6th case at least, is null and void. This is Jeffrey Toobin on video clip 3 that says January 6th case against Trump is toast, will never be tried. Let's go ahead and roll it, por favor, Eric.
Well, it's a big victory for Donald Trump. It means that the January 6th case, the case before Judge Chutkan in the District of Columbia, is at a minimum delayed until after the election, but I think will never be tried, because if you look at how Chief Justice Roberts framed the issue, he said that all official conduct is not only off limits for prosecution, but there can't even be any evidence presented about official conduct. And the definition of official conduct is so broad that it seems to eat up the entire indictment, in my view, of in the January 6th case. So I think either Judge Chutkan or an appeals court or the Supreme Court will wind up dismissing the January 6th case because it involves official conduct.
Do you realize how devastated these people are? They actually have to run on their policies rather than running on the justification of government going after a former president of the United States. You realize how devastating that is for people? Because, see, they tied up their morality in Trump is bad, Trump is evil, you're xenophobic, you're racist, you're so on, etc. And then a court, big government, comes down and says, no, we can't. This goes too far. And they feel deflated. It's like if you and I do something that's morally wrong, we feel deflated because our conscience, or those of us that are Christian, we believe the Holy Spirit will get a hold of us and say, whoa, wait, what are you doing? Don't go this way. They feel deflated in the same way. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic. Let's play this video. This is video clip 2. This is Van Jones. He says, until we see Biden in an unscripted environment, nobody knows whether we should stick with Biden. Now, before we play this, I say this, and I do believe this, and I know many conservatives will disagree with me because many conservatives are concerned that if we move past Biden, it's going to be very hard to defeat anyone else. And I just simply disagree with that. I simply disagree with that because the policies are so disastrous. And I do believe that Trump, just like he focused on that debate, he focuses on the policies that are destroying America. It's going to be hard for anyone to beat Republicans if they can focus on policy and get out the vote efforts. Because, listen, even though we're feeling a little good about this, what we see happening to Biden, we see the left crashing down. Make no mistake about it, the administrative state is alive and well, and they will continue to run against Donald Trump all the way through November 5th. And if you let them, November 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, so on, etc. We know how it goes. So don't you rest on your laurels. Don't take it easy on the left. But here's Van Jones. Until we see Biden in an unscripted environment, nobody knows whether we should stick with Biden. Let's roll it, por favor.
You know, he was obviously over prepped. Something went wrong in that debate.
Is that over prepped or not prepared enough?
Well, I mean, they said he was off, for 6 days working on the thing, and then he comes out and he can't do his opening, he can't do his close, he can't nail the abortion issue, so something obviously went wrong. I'm not a part of the inner circle, so I don't know if you blame him, if you blame the advisors, but you can't have that happen again. He's got to be able to get through. Look, I love him coming out doing those rallies, but those rallies are scripted. There's a teleprompter, and he's working the crowd. You take the teleprompter away, can he do it? If he can do it, everybody's going to calm down and get back to work. If he can't do it, we've got a problem. Until we see him in an unscripted environment, until we get a week out from the polls, nobody knows whether we should stick with Joe Biden or try to move away from him yet. So we're in the in-between.
All right, so you guys have noticed how Van Jones, and I got to tell you, listen, I obviously Van Jones, he and I will disagree probably on 90% of policy, but I really do believe that he is a deep thinker, and you can see that he reeled it back. If you saw his initial reaction after the debate, that was the real Van Jones. This is not. This is the left This is the Obama. This is whomever else, the administrative state saying, Van Jones, you got to reel this stuff back, because right now the only guy that we have to go with is Joe Biden. We know what's wrong. Joe Biden wasn't over-prepped. Joe Biden wasn't under-prepped. Joe Biden has dementia, and Joe Biden isn't running the state. So when you get some of the 16 people that are possibly part of the administrative state to help coach him up, he can't take it all in. He can't remember it. He can't remember it all, whether he was under-prepped or over-prepped, because he has dementia and because he's not running the country. If he was running the country, let's be real. The reason why Trump and Trump has to do this, he needs to do this when it comes to the debate. He was already president, and he understands what's happening in the country. He's getting briefings. So if you understand that and you've already done the job, like any one of us, we would know what to say about the job. Biden didn't know what to say. Listen to me. This sounds simple, but it's earth-shattering. Biden didn't know what to say in the debate, besides the fact that he has dementia. He didn't know what to say because he's not he's not doing the job. He's not the acting president. And we have to swallow that reality. Frankly, I think he should be kicked out on the 25th Amendment. I think our adversaries are looking at this. I'd rather have a dumb Kamala Harris than a senile Joe Biden. And I understand some of you would disagree with me. Frankly, I think we would clean Kamala Harris's clock when it came to an election. I'd rather have her than this guy, because I think it's wrong. I think it is wrong to put this guy in office. I think it's wrong for his family to use him. And I think it's wrong for the rest of the world to see that we've got a figurehead that isn't running the country. It's dangerous. And I'd rather have Kamala Harris for a few months than this guy. We'll be back. And it is Trump versus the administrative state. Joe Biden is just a figurehead, nothing more, nothing less. They touted him out yesterday after the ruling from the Supreme Court on the immunity case. And it's so funny. Thank you, Tracy Stockwell, who provided some research for me here. This from Red State. Besides the fact that they pushed him out in front of the camera and put all of this bronze powder on him, Biden is completely wrong regarding his claims. As a matter of fact, Daily Signal has written about 5 lies that he told just while he was in front of the camera for a few minutes. I believe it was right over 4 minutes, but we know that Biden is completely wrong when it comes to his position on the immunity case with that was handed down from SCOTUS, because his own Justice Department recently reiterated that a sitting president can't be indicted. That was one of the justifications, as a matter of fact, that Robert Hur used for not indicting Joe Biden for his criminal activity, that and his lack of mental acuity, let's say. I mean, absolutely insane. And then you have this from Miranda Devine from the New York Post. Biden, bragged about skirting the law when it came to this student loan debt debacle and forgiving student loans so that poor Americans could pay for the education of Americans that are more likely going to be more financially well off than they are. That's the administrative state for you. Biden doesn't know what he's saying or doing. Let's go right to the lines. We got Reith. Reith is on line 1. And by the way, if you want to call in and be a part of the conversation, you can call at 1-800-655-6453. That is 1-800-655-MIKE. We're talking about the immunity case. We're talking about the administrative state. I'm going to mix some different columns up in here to make my point that we are living under an administrative state with no real president. All right, let's go to line 1. Reith, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. You've got the mic.
What's up, man? So I feel like Sotomayor was a disgrace because he's basically flaming the fumes of lefty talking points. And secondly, a lot of Biden voters are embarrassed and shocked that we all know the truth now. So after the debate, I was at work after the debate, and nobody came to me with, like, real issues. The worst thing they were worried about was what are black jobs? And I'm okay, so what is the black vote? What is the black community? what is the black, everything is black. But as soon as Trump said it was his black job, it was so shocking them. Everybody was all mad. But he was talking about illegal immigrants taking these jobs away from people like in Chicago, New York.
Right.
I live in Detroit. You get what I'm saying? So it was a no-brainer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, this is one of the issues that obviously is a very important issue. Trump has got to continue harping on the illegal immigration, also on the issue of jobs and how he can impact as the president of the United States. Obviously, a president can't create jobs except that he can create an atmosphere where entrepreneurs will go out and produce those jobs and feel comfortable producing and or creating those jobs. And that's what former President Donald Trump is good at. And obviously, when it comes to people on the left, Biden can talk about one thing and it's good. Trump says something and all of a sudden it's bad. That's just the way the left is, because they have absolutely no moral compass. They're nihilists, as Victor Davis Hanson also often writes about. Man, these people in anything that is generally accepted as far as norms are concerned or morals, and they just don't exist for the left. They can't be hypocrites. They don't even know what that is. It's just, we live in crazy times. Let's go to Nancy. Nancy is in Philadelphia. Nancy, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. You've got the mic.
Hi, Carl. Stealing Biden's favorite line. The idea that you are just a Joe Schmo, no, you're the best.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anyway, I'm curious why a lot more people are not talking about how the Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity applies to Biden right now and after he leaves office.
Right.
So is he now allowed to be the king, a dictator like Trump, and a person who can order assassinations of people he doesn't like to?
I know. It's such a good question, especially since he's the one that's actually in office, right, Nancy? I mean, it's insane, and it's a good point, and you're right. I mean, I spoke about it briefly, but yeah, this applies. That's why I said this decision is just not a big deal. This is something that we've all assumed all along. The only thing that the Supreme Court did was clarify what we all assumed. It's just amazing. But Nancy, thank you for being out there. Good call. Let's go to Tommy. Tommy is in Troy, Michigan. Tommy, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. You got the mic.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, this left-wing media, it's been driving me nuts for years. I don't know how they get away with it, how it ever started. It just must be the power of the Democratic Party. They just pay them off. And, we all watched that debate, and I turned on, I watch Fox. I'm a Trump supporter, big time. And I just wanted to turn on CNN and then MSNBC and see what they had to say. And I was actually kind of shocked, too. A man and a woman on the CNN panel after that debate, they were all shocked. They could not believe what they saw and heard. And I'm wondering now, how are they going to spin this? How are they going to keep him so pumped up, drugged up, or whatever, keep him on Red Bull how are they going to get him to the finish line in November? That's what tricks are they going to try to pull?
Yeah, listen, it's some valid questions there, and I don't give them any credit whatsoever because they all knew, and if they didn't know, it just means they're horrible at their jobs. All right, so but they all knew. We all knew. I mean, this is common sense. We all, if you haven't had a family member that has been stricken with Alzheimer's or dementia, you will. We might go through it. All of us at some point are going to be impacted by Alzheimer's and dementia. And I know a lot of these people on air have. I mean, obviously, right? We're all humans. So they knew all along. They were covering up for Joe Biden because they're part of the DNC. There's no difference. There's no differentiation between the mainstream media and the Democratic, the National Party. They're all complicit, and they know it. And truly, all that happened was they got caught. maybe they didn't know it was as bad because maybe insiders in the White House were talking to them. But I mean, Tucker Carlson the other day, I think we played the clip the other day where, if I'm not mistaken, or at least I played it on my podcast, where I mean, he got inside information back in 2019 that the family was upset that Joe Biden was considering running because they knew he had dementia then. I mean, this is not a shock. And I don't give any of those CNN analysts, political strategists, any credit whatsoever. They all knew. And if they didn't know, they stink. They absolutely stink at their jobs. The truth of the matter is they were trying to cover up because they're for the administrative state just as much as whomever is running the country is for, because they all benefit from it. They all benefit from it. I mean, it's pretty sick. Let's go to, man, the lines are lighting up. Let's go to, I see Bill. Bill is in Howey in the Hills, Florida. Bill, welcome to the Mike Gallagher Show. You got the mic.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Carl. We've been talking a lot about presidential authority, but I have a question for you on president-elect authority, if I could. We've all seen the playbook. We know when Trump wins on November 5th, we've seen the playbook from the Democrats. They're probably already starting to make the protest signs and pay the agitators and ship pallets of bricks to different parks in major cities, blue cities, maybe some red cities around America, to start again with the riots across America come November 6th. It'll be BLM, it'll be Antifa. Now they've got people like the transgenders to jump in. They've got illegal aliens to jump in, paying money to smash windows. What is Trump's authority? I know when he's inaugurated in January, he'll send out the National Guard to squash it. But what can he do, if anything, on November 7th, or is he a lame duck for 2 months?
Yeah, it's all in Biden's hands. You know, if anything like that goes down, it's absolutely all in Biden's hands. And frankly, if something happened that late, obviously it won't impact the election. I'm curious that they'll do something before the election, but I think they might be concerned that if they called off their minions now, because I think everybody is turned off. And by the way, thanks for the call. I think everybody is turned off by the BLM, the Antifa riots, and all of that kind of stuff. I don't think any of that stuff will work anymore for the Democrat Party, except more people will get incensed, even people that are on their side that are just absolutely tired of living in this state of just constant riots and violence and, accepting this kind of nonsense, even though the Democrats have done their damnedest to make that type of activity, if you will, or that behavior normative. And we'll talk about that. That actually is part of the fundamental transformation of America. It's a scary thing, and we're going to get into that because I'm going to dive deep into this Victor Davis Hanson column. But no, if that type of thing happens, Lord willing, when Trump is elected, then, Biden is whomever is running the government is still running the government, all right? And Biden is still the face. But it's hard for me to call him president. It was hard for me to call him president just because, honestly, if I'm just being real, I wondered about, I have some questions about 2020. Nonetheless, I'm not going to go there. But there's no doubt that this man is not running the United States of America. He doesn't have the faculties to be able to do it. And everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. The sad thing is, many people on the left are going to dig in. They'll still vote for him. My prayer is that many, even if they hate Trump, they will just be either so incensed or disgusted by being lied to by the Democrat Party that at the very least, they would stay home. But the problem with the left and the problem with Democrats is you and I, when we talk about virtue, when we talk about morality, when we talk about goodness, we realize that none of us have the moral authority to talk about any of those things unless there's a God that is up above. When it comes to the left, their God is government. So you can imagine how destroyed they are or how horrible they must feel to realize they're being lied to by their God.